I was telling about the time that these farmers and so on around would always spit on Grandpa's toes. Kind of aggravated me. I saw it was kind of funny, but it sort of aggravated me too that they would do that. I remember one day John Wilson, who lived on the farm next to, right north of us, and someone said to him, "John," he says, "why do you chew tobacco?" "Why," he said, "hell, Sonny, to get the juice out of it." So, you see, the whole purpose of his chewing the tobacco was to get the juice, and what better could he do than to wash the feet of the neighbor's kids? And there were two brands of chewing tobacco that I remember. One of them was called open book chewing tobacco. And old John Wilson, when he was about to have himself some tobacco, he'd say, "Well, I think I'll read another page in the book." And he'd reach in there and grab another great big chew and stick it in there. And then, of course, when we were little boys, one of the things that we would do would try to imitate these characters. So the first thing you have to do to win a spitting contest, chewing tobacco, you got to be able to chew it yourself. So I wasn't quite so sure that I'd be able to do that. So anyhow, I got one of Uncle Elton's package of tobacco, open book as a matter of fact. And I'd heard that guys that got sick chewing that stuff. I'd better find out whether I can do it or not. So I was, I think, in the second grade, and I went up into the orchard, a good place away where no one would see, and I started chewing that doggone tobacco. And pretty soon, it didn't seem like anything was funny at all. And I was up in the orchard, and it's beautiful down there, of course, beautiful, nice hills. But the hills seemed to be rolling like this. They seemed to be like this was all on an ocean of some kind. It went like this and like this. Oh, and wow. I figured there's something wrong with that doggone tobacco, so I spit it out. But that didn't seem to do any good. The flavor seemed to linger. And since we're in the orchard, at the time that the apples were ripe, as a matter of fact, and I thought, well, now, I better eat some of those apples because Mother won't like it if I come down to eat dinner. We called it then supper. And I've got tobacco juice on me. That will be no good. Or it smells like tobacco. So I started eating apples. And that made me sicker. And all of a sudden, ugh, I'm all over. I get down for dinner, and I look so white. Mother said, "Well, Bobby, you look white. Are you sick?" "Oh, not me, Mother, no." I'm not sick at all. That was my last time with that damn stuff. But of course, Jane remembers that when I smoked a pipe later on, a doctor finally said I'd have to give up the pipe. And oh, gee, that was tough. But if I smoked a cigar, that was no good either. But if I took a cigar like this and didn't light it up, but just chewed the end like this, that seemed to make it easier to give up the pipe. So I did that a while. But then the kids would all complain that what Dad would do, he would chew that and he'd have to spit and he would roll the wind of the car down, out. And then that reminded me of how life was when I was a kid. And I remember the only new car we ever got when I was a kid. It was a Chrysler, 1928. And I called it a new tricycle machine. I didn't know how to say Chrysler. And my father was going to take 4 of the neighboring men to town to a school board meeting. He loaded them all in the car, and if the car was bright and sunshiny, and one man, Dan Morgan, who lived on the farm to the east of us, chewed tobacco, and he was chewing tobacco. And it was in the fall of the year, nice, not hot but not cold day, and he's sitting there in the brand new car, and he thought that the window was down. So He's chewing tobacco right against the window, and of course it all ran down our beautiful new car. As long as we kept it, we still could see the stain from that doggone thing. A neighbor to the south of us was named Emerson Kuhn. He chewed tobacco, but he chewed Five Brothers tobacco. And I remember we were there at the house one day, and well, John Wilson said to Emerson, he says, Emerson, he said, I hear one of those Five Brothers died. Oh, he says, is that right? Yeah. He said, it was the guy who pulled the stems out of the tobacco. He was making fun of the fact that the stuff had stems and all in it.